Unlike formal religions with structured doctrines, spiritual life is not confined to doctrine, but manifests through folk practices that reflect personal and collective experiences. It is important to clarify that the Vietnamese folk practices is not a subsect to the counterparts found in Chinese societies, despite the shared worship of a few deities. Two systems of veneration mark Vietnamese folk practices as a unique spiritual tradition in their own right. The first and very important system is the Convention of the Four Immortals, which represents the spiritual life of every ordinary walk in Vietnam. The perception of them evolved according to the evolution of social context. Before the 17th century, the original four immortals recognized by the people were as follows. 1. Tong Yang, the hero who drove foreign invaders from the land with a bamboo staff, symbolizing Vietnam's resilient spirit of resistance. 2. Sun Tin, the mountain spirit who won the hand of a princess, enraging the jealous water spirit, Tui Tin. Each year, Tui Tin returns with floods to claim the princess, though his floods also bring abundant fish. The myth embodies the idea that crisis can bring opportunity. And for this reason, Sun Tin was once regarded as Vietnam's most generous deity of fortune. The other two figures, Tu Dao Han and Nguyen Minh Kong, were later replaced by Chu Dong Tu and Li Yu Han after the 17th century. Interestingly, the symbolic meanings of the old and new figures are thematically similar. Tu Dao Han, a Zen master of the 11th century, is said to have been reborn as a prince's son to repay a karmic debt, eventually becoming king. His successor, Chu Dong Tu, was a poor man who rose to become a successful overseas merchant and gained magical powers that allowed him to summon cities and armies. Both stories emphasize rising from humble beginnings to achieve honor. Although the legend of Chu Dong Tu predates the 17th century, his widespread veneration only took off during that time. Nguyen Minh Kong, a disciple of Tu Dao Han, was renowned for curing a king's madness, which led to his reverence as a royal preceptor. His successor, Li Yu Han, is said to be a heavenly princess who descended to earth to protect the weak and punish the corrupt. In one story, she uses magic to discipline a prince. Both figures emphasize the moral lessons of grassroots teachings directed at the aristocracy. However, Li Yu Han's stories emerged only after the 17th century. Her playful, mischievous character and satirical tales resemble the famous mythological figure Tona No Kong and contrast sharply with the Confucian ideal of the virtuous woman. Her cult represents grassroots resistance from frontier regions against the royal court's orthodox ideology. The Four Immortals framing is not merely a literary construct. Each figure holds a place in authentic grassroots veneration. In fact, there are sacred capitals dedicated to each immortal, serving as pilgrimage centers and spiritual anchors. In Son Tay, Hanoi, Va Shrine is dedicated to Tan Vien Son Tain. In Sac Sun, Hanoi, Sac Shrine honors Tang Yang. In Vu Ban Nam Dinh, Shrine Fuze serves as the central shrine for Liu Han. In Quai Chau District, Hung Yen Province, Da Hua Shrine venerates Chu Dong Tu. These shrines function as spiritual epicenters where myth, ritual, and cultural memory converge. The selection of these four immortals reflects the metaphors in their stories, which resonate deeply with the Vietnamese nerve of spirituality. These figures symbolize resilience against foreign invasion, a complex emotional response to floods, combining fear with hope for abundance, the desire for success despite humble origins, and a grassroots impulse to challenge authority. The second system is the veneration of the Hung kings, which was institutionalized during the Lei dynasty to legitimize monarchical rule. In the modern republic, the Hung kings are revered as the shared ancestors of the Vietnamese people, with regular state-led rituals. Technically, the veneration of the Hung kings not only symbolizes a common genealogy, but also reinforces nationalism at the state level. In other words, it functions as a form of civil religion. This connection between spiritual heritage and civic duty encourages citizens to view patriotism as a continuation of ancestral legacy. Therefore, the veneration of the Hung kings serves as a powerful instrument to promote national integration within the secular state. To sum up, the Hung kings represent a shared ancestral legacy institutionalized at the state level to foster national ties. The four immortals emerge from the grassroots veneration, embodying the moral instincts, hopes, and outlook of everyday Vietnamese. In other words, the Hung Kings symbolize lineage, loyalty, and national destiny, while the four immortals reflect the inner psyche of the people. The veneration of the Hung Kings and the four immortals together reveals that Vietnamese spirituality is not structured like a formal religion, but rather functions as a responsive system rooted in the shared projection of a people immersed in both resistance and reverence.